What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Misreps podcast. Congratulations, NFL. You've officially proved yourself to be rigged. My name's Kanal, and I'm here with Adam. How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's just cold in Dallas. We got a lot of snowing, hailing, ice, like sheets of ice falling down. No, I'm kidding, not sheets of ice, but it was definitely like
Could you imagine just huge blankets of ice coming down?
ice and stuff. Yeah, it was. I forgot what it was like. Literally during the day, it was like snowing, and then it like the snow was just heavier, so it really just sounded like someone was throwing ice. It wasn't hailing. It wasn't that
Yeah.
bad, but it was a mix of snowing and hailing at one point, and now we have like it's just freezing everywhere. So even outside, I was like, "Oh, look, that's snow on the ground." And I went to go pick up my mail. Uh, and I stepped on it. I was like, "Oh, that's ice. No, that's ice. Like with a seasoning of like it's a seasoning of snow on top to make it seem because you can actually see it. Some people where they were walking on it, you can see like how it's clear and you can see like through the ice and stuff. So yeah, it's just mostly ice out there, and it's still 20 something degrees, like what 26 right now outside.
Oh man, that's
So
brutal. Yeah, we've been in the low 20s or high 20s, low 30s over here too. So every morning I get out to the gym, I open up the garage, and I'm like, do I want to stay or do I want to? Should I go? Should I stay? What do I do here? But
basically,
yeah, it's been you could tell from the intro this weekend a little bit of bitterness for me from the Bengals and Chiefs game, but we'll get into that when we get to that part. But
oh
it was a
man,
solid week.
this man is tight about that game. I
I
already
I
know.
I am high strung about that a little bit. I think the thing that pissed me off the most was that it ended up being like a really good game. Like when the score line's 23-20, it's like, that's a
It was
close
that
game.
last drive. It was the last drive, unlike the other game with the Eagles.
Yeah,
So
that was
that
a
was
that was a different story. Man, those are
unfortunately we did not get the game we were expecting in that one, but it was a game nonetheless.
yeah, for sure. But you want to go right into the Seahawks? There ain't much to talk
Sure.
about.
Yeah, I got one. So the Seahawks quarterback Dave Canales is actually getting a second interview with for the Ravens offensive coordinator position. So, and like a little fun fact about him was that he was the passing game coordinator. Like he had like that tag, I guess, under his name for 2020 and 2021 as well. So it's really nice seeing some more players just transition into coaches. So that was something, and I was just like, oh shoot, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny when a passing game coordinator for our team gets interviews anywhere because um, there's always so much noise about how we're such a focused team. Like all we do is run the ball, but obviously that's not the case. Gino actually, that's our next point. Gino had like I think was it the what was his record most passing yards in a season?
I
Did he
think
top? Yeah,
most passing yards for the season. That's a franchise record for him.
yeah, he
So
topped Russ's record, which if you look at like the top five, I think four of
Russ
them
is
are
like
Russ,
three. Yeah,
three
three or
three of
four.
them,
No,
and I
three.
think
Three of them are Russ.
and then Matt Hasselbeck is I think the other one. But Gino, I think it came out that Gino won the Pro Football Writers Association Most Improved Player and Comeback Player of the Year, which well deserved.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's
Now we just gotta
probably
wait for the AP, the big one,
yeah.
right? The
I didn't
Associated Press.
I didn't realize there were so many awards until we looked at it because
I
all I
told
ever
you that last time. Remember, it was like
yeah, yeah,
The Pepsi one too. You were like, "What is that?" I was like, "Me too. What is
yeah.
that?"
Yeah, when you told me last week, I was surprised as hell because like I'm like, man, everybody's just gonna put out awards. It's like like we could come out with our most improved player of the year award and then comeback player
I
of the year.
mean, that's an idea we can put into place next season. That's a
Let's
little idea.
we get awarded right now. It's gonna go to Gino.
Everything's
offensive
Gino.
offensive rookie of the year is K9. Defensive rookie of the year is Tariq. I think that's the
Yeah,
most.
and so on the reward side of things, Kenneth Walker the third is also up for he's up for like offensive rookie of the year, but then he's also going against like Brock Purdy and some others. So it's really just like
It's gonna be good.
ah
It's the NFL. It's gonna go to a quarterback. I hate it, but
yeah,
it's
and then
gonna
of
go to.
course you have the on the defensive side for defensive rookie of the year, yeah, Tariq Woolen's in there, but then you have Aiden Hutchinson as well as Sauce himself. So it's weird because Sauce he didn't get a lot of interceptions, but he definitely defended all like the most, if not all of the players. And he only allowed like what one touchdown this season, so they're gonna look
Something
at
crazy
that.
like that.
Yeah, so
But with the rookie of the year, so I feel like it's always. I feel a lot of people. This is me talking out of my ass, but it's also things that people also say. Like, see, it's those awards seem to be heavily biased towards high like the not lottery picks because that doesn't exist in the NFL, but you know what I mean. Those top 10 picks that uh, are the storylines for throughout the season. Like when any if you're drafted in the top 10, you're going to be a
I
headline
mean,
every week.
hey, Tariq Woolen's in good company then because he's a fifth rounder, like right beside it. If you go to the NFL website, you'll actually see like who all the finalists for that award. You'll see Aiden Hutchinson and Sauce Gardner. So that does say something about Tariq Woolen. Unfortunately, it's going to be really hard to find those fifth round gems and stuff like that, or third round. I don't know. Third round is still, I wouldn't say is a gem. I think you start talking about gems fourth round and down.
Hmm.
But third round is kind of like that edge of like you might get a player, you might not, but you never know. You never know because we got Russ, right? Russ came, what was it, fifth round before, or was it
No,
third? He
third
was,
round. Third
yeah,
round.
he
I
was
think
third round,
Dak
and
came.
then
I think just notable ones that come to mind. Dak was fourth round. I think Tom Brady was sixth round.
yep, yep.
So
So it's unfortunately like, and it's hard because you're thinking of like teams that like build every other position before, and I know we're kind of getting into the draft logic here, but like build every position before you get a quarterback, right? But then it's like, so if your team's very good, no matter what quarterback you throw in there, now you're just not high enough to go get a blue chip
yeah,
quarterback, as some people would call those, what,
I
top
think that
10, top 15.
the trick is like what we did when we drafted Russ. Right, we were on the cusp of being a really good team, but we weren't. Our record didn't show it. Right.
Yeah. So but that's like it's hard to see that even with like because you have to like make that right pick because I bet you there was other quarterbacks they could have looked at. They also had whoever they had in their quarterback room at the time, and Russell beat them out, right? So it's a matter of just like it's tough. Let's just say it's tough trying to find that quarterback in like the diamond in the rough situation where that's all you need is a quarterback now. And then you found the right one because even the 49ers, let's give it to the 49ers. They had Brock Purdy at Mr. Irrelevant. He took them on a stretch of games, no matter what anyone says. I have to at least respect Brock Purdy for, starting for a team late in the season, taking them into the playoffs.
And it wasn't
He
he
had,
wasn't he wasn't just like caretaking the team. He was throwing dimes and everything too. Like
yeah.
he was slinging it.
Yeah. So, I mean, who I wonder who's going to be like the next like late round quarterback this season, this upcoming draft season. So I'm hearing a lot of like the Florida quarterback, by the way, is like not projected to go as high, which is kind of weird. He's like that high athletic, maybe not have everything in place, but I feel like he's going to be solid somewhere. And I wouldn't mind if he goes low enough and we were to take him just to hold him in for a couple, 1 year or two.
Give him the
But
Jordan Love treatment.
basically, but I don't know how. I feel like he's going to get taken like late first round. If he falls into the second round, that's something. But it's happened before quarterbacks that
Yeah.
people thought were going to be first
Well, I
rounders,
mean,
right?
look at
Like
the
Lamar
quarterbacks.
Jackson.
Yeah,
Lamar
Lamar
Jackson
Jackson
went.
almost fell out of the first round, but then you look at the quarterbacks that everyone was talking about last year, right? Like guys like Malik Willis went all the way into the third round or something like that, right? Desmond
Right.
Desmond Ritter, I think, went late second round. And
Yeah.
so,
Exactly.
it's kind of we'll see what the paradigm if the paradigm continues with the, drafting quarterbacks high or, what everyone's priorities are with this upcoming offseason.
Hmm.
Because, we just saw I didn't write this down, but let me find the number really quick because we know the salary cap numbers for next
Two
year are
twenty
gonna
four point eight million.
yeah, 224.8 million, up about 16 million from this year. So
To
with
me, that
that,
doesn't really matter because teams have ways to magically. And I mean, GMs have come out and said they
yeah,
can maneuver ways around the cap and like
yeah.
push stuff off. If like there's void contracts now because of the pandemic and stuff like that. So it's really
And
just.
and the way that like signing bonuses are converted and stuff like that. I mean, the Patriots wrote the rule book on that with Tom Brady's contract year in and year out.
Yes.
But then there is eventually the bill does come due for a lot of people. Like you could end up in a situation like the Saints where they don't have a very full roster full of talent, but their salary cap they're over the cap right now. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that they're eventually things catch up to you if you don't figure out a way to take care of them later on, right? It's kind of like an IOU when you do these kind of things.
Basically, and there's also like you'll see stuff online about like, especially over the cap, obviously we'll have it too where they show the cap space and stuff. That's really interesting. They'll say cap space and then effective cap space. So even for right now, Seahawks, they say their cap space is 31 million, but after all the changes and stuff, they said effective cap space is only 19.
Yeah.
Given I guess some re-signings might be coming down the way too. I think we'll basically still have enough to like flirt around in the free agency, but I just hope it's not one. I feel like it's going to be one of those
Yeah.
7 million to the vet. I'll just say the vet minimum to some defensive lineman or something like that.
So we
That's
have
not going to help.
Seahawks have 4 contracts. I saw this somewhere the other day.
Hmm.
It might have been like fan side or something. They have 4 contracts that are effectively like taking up a good chunk of our salary, and they belong to Shelby Harris,
Hmm.
Will Dissly, Jamal Adams, and Gabe Jackson. So you have those 4. When you have those guys' names starting to circulate around, they're usually associated with like the people that are going to be cap casualties. Of those 4, who do you think is the most likely to go?
Probably Gabe Jackson. I feel like we can
Yeah,
go
I
and
feel like
find
it's
a
a
good.
no-brainer, right?
Yeah, that one is like he's like the lowest hanging fruit to like take care of in that respect. Shelby Harris, I feel like he was serviceable. I'm not going to say he was bad. I'm not going to say he was great. I feel like we can do stuff because you have guys you can for a rotation thing, right? Because a lot of the things that can affect a defense is if you don't have an effective offense. That's one thing. We've had those issues. But of course, you need bodies anyway on the D line. So I don't think we're going to just let Shelby Harris just go after that trade. I think we're going to give him like another season.
I
Keep
think they
it
might try to
low,
do like a little bit of a restructuring thing, like like you said, convert his existing salary to maybe a signing bonus, and then
basically.
extend
I
him maybe 3-4 years,
I
because he's
expect
already
that.
what 32, I think.
Yes, he's
So
yeah.
he's on the tail. Like his big deal was his last contract, right? Usually when you're about 28 is when you get your big deal. That's why a lot of people will do these like 3 or 4 year extensions after their rookie, right? Because then they'll end
Hmm.
up getting their next contract when they're 27, 28. So he's had his big contract, and we're paying the final years of his big contract effectively. And
Yeah,
so
another one we have to also pay attention to is because Uchenna Nwosu's deal, because he only has a deal like we have him through 2023, but after that he's a free agent and he's a cap hit of like 13 million as well. So only like 5.8% of our actual cap, but at the same time, what are we going to sign him to? He's
yeah,
been really good to me for the team, but it's a matter of like what people value and all this other type of stuff. So,
yeah, it'll be a
um,
tough one, right? Because if like we if we praying that we swing we get a home run again in this year's draft.
we have
We
a lot of
completely
picks.
we have a lot of picks, and so if we get a home run like we got in last year's draft, this year's draft, we get like a completely new nose tackle and new
Yes.
edges, linebackers to fill in, and maybe interior offensive linemen, or just
Hmm.
focusing on the defensive side of the ball. If you get those new defensive linemen, like we talked about it last week, your second level is going to flourish all that much more, right? Because they have those guys that are just eating up offensive linemen and taking on double teams, and it gives guys like Uchenna Nwosu, who are fast, can take the edge, hit the gaps, and he can put up like a big sack season. So if he puts up those numbers, it'll be difficult for us to keep him. And I think
Yeah.
that's just being a victim of your own success. If looking at it from that perspective, not saying he doesn't deserve it, but he'll probably get a lot of money after this year.
Yeah. Because we have 10 picks. So we have 10 picks going into this. So I've actually also saw stuff about our cap space. That's why like our effective cap space is lower because we have to actually allot um about $10 million for the draft itself,
Yeah,
just for those rookie
there's some way of doing
contracts.
the math for it, right? Like they like because with draft picks, the contract value I think is pretty much set based on your position
Yeah.
on your pick, right?
And our first pick, that number five, not no, yeah, number five, that's going to be expensive
Yeah,
for whoever we redraft at that position. I know we can see ourselves, going down the line and maybe letting it go, but at this point in time, let's just
it
say
have
that
yeah.
it's going to cost, which
It'd
is
have
fine.
to, I've been on the bandwagon of, just trade down, just get as much capital as you can. But it'd have to be the right kind of deal. Now that we're at number 5, if you're at number 3, then and you go down to like number 5, that's different, right? Because you're still in that top 5. But
I
trading
think,
down, it'd have
yeah,
to be a very, very good situation for it to be considered a good deal.
yeah, I'm hearing stuff that like Chicago could trade down, Arizona could also trade down with Indianapolis, or even Houston could trade down to, well, not Houston trade down with Indianapolis, but I've heard stuff like Chicago could trade down to number 4. Indianapolis trying to hop skip over Houston and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, um, I think at 5 we're at the sweet spot, and we can still have our pick of edge players. I know we're going to go get it. I know we're getting an edge player because we're not going to get Jalen Carter. I think he's just going to be gone, and Will Anderson Jr. So at the end of the day, I think there's a lot. I've been hearing. the edge player from Texas Tech. I've been seeing Miles Murphy still. So it's just up in the air. And I think there's a lot of good players we can pick. Like edge for this year's draft is really good. So not sure what we're going to do with our second first round pick. I've been seeing stuff like on field goals. They're saying Joey Porter Jr., but even they said that's unlikely because in the history with John Snyder and Pete Carroll, we have never picked a cornerback in the first round. So, it's cute, but no.
Yeah, I think ain't nothing wrong with going with the boring pick. If even if it's not like a "ooh, who's that" kind of thing,
Basically.
it doesn't have to be some
And
flashy
we need to
thing.
get two linebackers because I'm sorry, but Cody Barton. I love Cody Barton, but I feel like he's more of a depth player rather than like a true starter, in my opinion. So we also have to go out and get. I think we might go and sign like one vet linebacker while drafting a young rookie. So then, like after that season, the vet can go, and we have whoever it is besides Brooks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't know how many more years we can do with Bruce Irvin as our edge. So
he's not. I don't think Bruce Irvin's coming back unless we like bring Bruce Irvin into a position or something like that. Which I'm not sure what that it would look like, but unless they're just bringing him in for another season just cause. But I mean, we need another edge for Daryl Taylor on the other side to have like to
yeah,
basically
and
be with on that. So
I want some of these draft picks that we did with like guys like Alton Robinson and Boye Mafe came in. He had a couple sacks, but Alton Robinson was one guy I liked last year, and he's just kind of been hurt all last season. So he'll come in next season. He'll kind of be
yeah,
like it'll essentially be like a new player at that point, and so at least that'll give some rotational depth. But you like to capitalize on your high position and get someone that can just come in and give
basically
a
this
home
is a
run.
D and this will be a defensive like draft for the Seahawks. I think one of the things I also saw was what was it? One of the things I saw was that we need a corner because we've had
Who knows what we
well, I
had
said
with
it
Trey
before.
Brown, right?
Yeah, the thing is, like they said, Trey Brown's going to be healthy. They said he should be healthy enough to see what a healthy
Shit
Trey Brown
happens.
looks like, and
Yeah,
if it doesn't work out, we can see if we can slot Kobe Bryant over there. But that's also the kind of the reason why some people are saying go get another corner right now because it's whatever people can do for you right now rather than what you think they can do. Unfortunately for Penny,
yeah.
like Penny's going to be gone. We're not going to sign him back because like that's so many leg injuries, man.
You hate to see it. I mean,
Hate to
I
see
would
it.
I felt bad for you whenever you don't like seeing guys in this game get hurt because when you beat a team, you want to beat a team because they're at full strength and you're at full strength and you just want to be better than them, right? I mean,
Yeah,
injuries are part of the game, but when you have like guys like Penny who it feels like every season he's ready to just have a breakout, be 1,000 yard rusher, just another leg injury comes
it's
in.
one of those things, and we've always had that curse, like the injury bug to the running backs. And honestly, it's like let's just kind of clean house. Unfortunately, we need to clean house. So that's like the last of those running backs that we had that was having all those injury bugs, right? I mean, I know DJ Giles got it like towards the end, but it was really Rashad Penny and then Christian Michael, who we had before. I'm trying to remember the other guy that we had that like he was on a roll,
Chris
and then he
Carson, Thomas Rawls,
Thomas Rawls. It was Thomas Rawls before Chris Carson, and because oh man, Chris Carson again injuries, neck injury got basically took him out, and then yeah, Thomas Rawls, he was so good at what he was doing, and then like ankle injury, right? So
dude, he was like a baby beast. That's what they used to
he
call him.
yeah, how he was running and stuff, and the next thing you know, injury, and then it was just oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
I
it was
mean,
just one
that's
thing after the other. So
if you want to have that philosophy of hard-nosed running backs as an organization, you just kind of have to accept that you're going to have to spend a pick every couple years on a running back at
yeah,
least.
but
And
there's so many running backs
guys
anyway.
like
So
Chris Carson came in the seventh round, which was great for us. But Thomas Rawls was undrafted, I think. But Rashad Penny was a first round pick. Kenneth Walker is a second round pick. You're starting to spend valuable capital on a
well, there's
position
a
that
reason why we spent it on Kenneth Walker when we did, when he was like kind of considered to be, if not the best, he was like a top
yeah.
running back prospect, right? That's because we knew that Penny was going to go out the door after this season
And we
because
kind of had an idea because Kenneth Walker was going to come in as like the third running back and behind Chris Carson too. Chris Carson, we didn't know at draft day or like it wasn't publicly aware, I think, that he wasn't going to come back to football.
Yep, and then like those before the season, right? He just retired, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a neck injury, same thing
Yep,
that
he
took
can't
out
do
Cliff
anything.
Averill and Cam Chancellor is
Mm-hmm. And Baldwin too.
was
He had a
Baldwin with neck injury
not
too?
neck injury, but he had to retire due to injuries.
Yeah.
He just couldn't keep up at that point. So yeah, it's just one of those things, and I can't wait for draft day. That's going to be so exciting because usually, the Seahawks pick is like in the 20s, and then we always like, oh, we're just going to trade down because there's nothing. There's like it's just like a bargain bin at that point, and
Dude,
at that in the
yeah,
you know
and when drafting, I don't ever really watch the draft, but like the reason being is because like you said, we're always at 20, and so like I'm like, all right, the draft's at 5. I might as well not turn the TV on until like 6:30 because it feels
Gotta
like
have
there's
some
five.
wings, get some wings, or have a
Yeah,
beer right there. You might as well just celebrate that number 5 overall pick at
exactly. Because
least.
even like, isn't it like 3 minutes between each pick or something stupid like that? Like,
Yeah, it's
come on,
about
man.
like 2 or 3 minutes. I think what we're also gonna watch is what happens at the number 1 and the number 2 because you don't know if the Houston Texans are gonna try to hop up. It's easier for them to hop up than it would be for the Colts to try to hop from 4 to 1.
It depends on what the Texans want, right? Because I think the Texans are in desperate need of some form of an offense. They had Brandon Pierce, who was very good. Or is
Well, they
it
need a
Brandon
quarterback.
Pierce?
They need a quarterback to start running that offense, and
Yeah,
they're going to go for a quarterback at this point in time. But the reason why a lot of people are talking about Chicago trading is because they need players around Justin Fields, and what better way to do it than to trade down from number 1? I don't know where like he could trade. They can trade down from 1 to 2 or 1 to 4, and you could still get one of the blue chip defenders that are still out there. They don't care which one; they'll take anything because Justin Fields needs weapons and he needs a whole other defense.
yeah. I think that's hits the nail on the head. I mean, I think Justin Fields needs
Offensive
linemen
lineman.
linemen to protect him because we saw it last season. He's starting to take hits
Oh
and
my gosh, the
he's taking
hits he
some
was
hits.
taking. Do you remember like the sandwich hits he would get and
Dude,
he would get up
he would just
limping?
get like what do you call it? I can't remember where when one guy gets you high and one guy gets you
High
low.
low, like a high
Yeah,
low tackle. Oh my gosh. And then he'll come up like limping. And then it's just like he'll still
God,
play. And then of course, like 2 or 3 games later, he's like
and it
did an 80-yard run and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, Justin Fields, you can run the ball for this team. And everyone's saying run the ball, even like Richard Sherman with his whole antic of run the ball. But like if everything this happened with us with the Seahawks, if everything is predicated on your quarterback running the ball though as a main thing, eventually, I mean, it didn't. The Ravens almost got caught up in it, but they actually had like a decent passing game with Lamar Jackson, though. But like with Justin Fields, he has no weapons,
yeah,
so it's a
and
lot
that's
of running.
you can give him an offensive line, but you can't give him receivers to throw to. He needs both.
What you mean? He has. Well, who was it from the Steelers? They got
Claypool.
Dante. Oh yeah, Claypool. I was about to Deontay Johnson. I
You
think
got
I was about to
they got
say.
Claypool. They got Equinemius. Or no, do they
Yeah,
have
Equinemius St.
Equinemius
Brown.
Brown?
Hmm.
They have Cole Kmet, and
Yeah, the tight end.
there's one
Hmm.
more, Darnell Mooney. But I think Darnell Mooney kind of
I
fell
don't know
off
what happened
last
to
year.
Mooney. I don't know what happened to Mooney because he was supposed to be like a gadget player for them to kind of basically be the Debo for them, but it just didn't
Yeah,
work out. I've seen a lot of stuff they tried to do
he
with him,
played
but
really
they
well
just
last year or
yeah.
2 years, or not this season, but the prior season when he was
Hmm.
playing across from Allen Robinson. But um, I think that's where I think once Allen Robinson got traded, it kind of messed up that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any weapons, so everyone can just cover everybody, whoever they need to focus on, right? And they don't
Yeah,
have much of a run. It was just man, it was tough watching Chicago. But regardless, um, not much as you can see. There's not much to talk about with the Seahawks until we get closer to like the free agency. I can't wait for free agency. I am kind of interested to see what we'll do.
yeah.
Hopefully it's not a quiet year. We need something. You have to put some money into that
Derek Carr is
defense.
probably going to be a name that's going to be thrown around. That'll be the interesting
Oh,
thing.
you got a
Tom
lot of big
Brady.
free agencies, free agent players out there, right? You
Yeah.
got, you have Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley,
Oh, there you
Lamar
go.
Jackson. We can keep listing all these names that, of course, they're going to get signed or franchise tag. We just don't know when.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll when we get to the free agency, like mayhem, I hope is going to be pretty good, just to see a lot of players moving around and stuff, and maybe potentially trades. You never know,
You
So
never know. But we can circle back to the draft talk in a bit. Should we go around the
hmm
league?
let's go around the league, my friend.
All right. First bit of news that came up that I saw. I think this was earlier or late last week. Frank Reich becomes head coach of Panthers. Okay.
Oh, okay. Like
That's
I
that's
was
all
just like,
that's all I had.
oh, oh, like it was like
Frank
that
Reich, I think
yawn.
he was the first quarterback for the franchise. So, I mean,
Hmm.
they're trying to make that a storyline and, say, "Oh, the prodigal son has returned" or something like that, but I think he only quarterbacked for them for like 4 or 5 games, and then he got
I mean,
benched or he got injured.
Panthers at least have a solid roster to build upon, though. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like you actually have like a good foundation to build off of with like some of the players that are still there. And they almost, I mean, everyone in that division had a chance to get to be, to win the division. But at the
It
same time, we don't
it
know what's
ain't
happening. Tom Brady,
yeah.
Saints are kind of like imploding a bit on themselves. And then, what else? Who else is like in contention? Falcons.
Yeah. I think the story of the Carolina Panthers last year is underreported or, underappreciated. They fired Matt Rule. They had a carousel at quarterback because Sam Darnold was hurt.
Sam Darnold just isn't, but he isn't like he has moments, but we've already seen enough of Sam Darnold to the point where he had
We know what we had
chances.
with him.
I think they're not gonna roll with him. I think they're gonna go for a quarterback with their pick. It's just who I don't know. That's the
Yeah.
issue.
And then they also traded their best player away to the 49ers, and somehow they went on a tear after that. And fun fact, I think I just saw this. I didn't put this in there. It's not really a fun fact. It's just news. Steve Wilkes is interviewing for the 49ers defensive coordinator job. So
Yeah.
that is a break from trend for the 49ers. I feel like they always have like some young coaches coming in, and then they come for a few years and then they're on their way out. But Steve Wilkes has been around for a little bit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Steve Wilkes at least shows that he can still have some type of job somewhere. I just kind of hate how, well, it kind of comes back to like the Houston Texans and what they did over there, but which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, for Frank, I all I have to say is good for him. But will he be a good coach for them? I don't know because he got like cut in the middle of the season with the Colts. But I know the Colts was a dumpster fire, but it's like he was the head coach over there.
I think the Carolina Panthers is a much better organization, at least compared relatively to the Colts. I'm not going to make
Big
any sweeping
facts.
statement.
Big facts, though. Yeah, yeah.
And
I'll at
so
least give you that. I haven't had any issues with like the Panthers front office and anything, right?
and like you said, they have quality players on the roster, guys like J.C. Horn, Brian Burns, their running
Mm-hmm.
back room and stuff like that. And it's a good environment for a coach to come in. He's not going to come in expected to right the ship right away because you come into the Carolina Panthers, it's a project because they finished, what was it? It's 8-9,
Yeah,
or I think
it's
they
not
finished 8
bad. It's
or
you know,
seven
it's
and 10, something like that. But yeah,
yeah.
it's not terrible, but you got to be a little, if he has a couple of seasons where he's middling while they're building their roster out,
Mm-hmm.
no one's going to get on his case for it. But for
Yeah,
me,
they
I think
went they went 7-10. You're right
7 and
on that
10,
one.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I think 8 and 9 is what the Bucks went, and so
Mm-hmm.
um,
And but they do have the number 9 overall pick though, so
that'll be interesting to see
it's a
because if
quarterback. I don't
quarterbacks,
know
yeah,
who, but it's a quarterback.
or they might use it to trade up, which will be a big move
I
because
have. You're right. I have heard stuff like Carolina trading up. It's
I
just
think it
going
was.
from 9 to what though? Who are they
I
going to
can't
try to
remember
trade
whose
over?
mock draft it was. I think it was Tom Pelissero or something. But we're now in the annoying time frame where people are just going to throw out their mock drafts, that they pull out of nowhere. And so one of them had us trading our pick to the Panthers
I
so
saw
that the
that.
Panthers
I
could,
think I
draft.
thought I mentioned that either in an episode or something. But yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that too because you go to like the mock draft database and you can see like everyone's mock draft so far if they get updated. But that's we could trade down from 5 to 9 and we can still get Edge because there's again Edge is a really good class. And I don't know what we would get besides, number 9, but we should probably get like another first for next year. That's what some people were saying. Maybe like some more picks this year, but we have a lot of picks as is. So who knows?
Yeah, no, going down to 9 is probably as low as I'm willing to go if we trade down that fifth pick because you do. I mean, there might not be like we've talked about this, right? Because this was the scenario that I always was advocating was if we could trade down and still get a very good quality player that is obviously he's probably not good. He might not be as good as we would get at our original pick, but if he is still serviceable and we can continue to fill out our draft capital for the coming years and as we continue to retool our offense, I would take it. But if we're going from 5. we're not going to get as much back, and unless we drop a lot. And so, 9 or 10, that's probably as low as I'm willing to go if we trade that pick.
And the big thing is we don't know which edge player is the one, right? You have a
It's
lot of edge play. It's a crapshoot. Everyone
yeah.
will
At the
tell
end of
you
the
it
day, that's
is.
the funny thing about this game, right? Like you can have you can draft whoever you want, but it's still a crapshoot.
It's only when hindsight that's when you're like, man, we should have like that team. They overlooked like Patrick Mahomes, or they picked this quarterback, not this one. But again, it's in hindsight, not like you need to go and get this one quarterback here, because a lot of people. I remember that one time when Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston went 1-2,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And people were like, they should have went Jameis, they should have went Marcus, and then they're both just like floundering right now in their careers. So
yeah.
you'll never know. You really won't know. And sometimes those picks past post five, the number five, you never know. They can turn out well, they can turn out bad. It's one of those things. I just hope we make the right choice is all.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what it comes down to. Um, we haven't been like you keep saying we haven't been in this position where we've had this high of a pick, so we don't really have any history to back ourselves up on. And
except
that,
that the only history we have is always trade down.
yeah, that's the only. But the reason that we always trade down is because we're always at the bottom of the draft. So it's going from like pick 25 to pick
Yeah, but
35
then
ain't that
John
big
Schneider
difference.
doesn't really know how to like pick those late round. Like we've skipped over some really good players, and we've tried and we've thrown like a pick at some edge rushers before, and it just did not turn out well. Either injuries, ATV accidents, and stuff.
Fucking Malik McDowell. I
You
can't.
know, like we always just kind of get
We
like.
can't do anything about that one though. That was just someone being head ass about their life.
I mean, the only one that actually kind of worked out in the recent years was like Rashad Penny, in my
Frank Clark.
opinion. Well, Frank Clark, yes, and we just didn't want to pay him and stuff. And now, he's what, 13 sacks in postseason, and which is like third most in the NFL right now. But like, no one, you can't tell what Frank Clark's going to do 2 or 3 years after we let him go. It's just up to Frank Clark at that point with whatever situation he's in.
Yeah.
Frank Clark was good for us. Don't get it twisted.
No,
It's
I didn't
just we
say
just
what.
didn't we
Yeah.
didn't not you. I'm just saying, like, I was
Okay.
just kind of
Okay.
like I'm talking to the audience, that one audience that's like, Frank Clark is nothing. No, he's good. It's just we just didn't want to pay him because I think it was after we just paid Russ or right before and stuff like that, if I remember correctly.
Something like
So
that. Yeah.
it was one of those things where like we had money tied up elsewhere and we can't pay for Frank Clark because he wanted big money and we just
Which
couldn't pay him.
he got from Chiefs, so more power to him, and he's going to his second Super Bowl with them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't want them to win, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fly Eagles. I think I'll say that this week.
Right. I mean, it's in other news on head coaches. Sean Payton, the man himself, has chosen the Broncos.
I'm just
Finally,
so fucking glad that this is over with. I feel like every day we're just peppered with clickbait on rumors where Sean Payton is doing or who he's interviewing with
I
and all
didn't
this
even
crap.
I didn't even like give it any attention because I'm just waiting for when they announce, because you know that they have the template ready. They just need to fill in the name and what team to put on, like to Photoshop onto them and
Oh,
stuff
they
like
got
that.
templates ready for everything. We saw the Bengals and Chiefs game.
Oh yeah, facts.
A little
But
bitter.
the Saints, so basically the Broncos and Saints came to an agreement. Actually, this the Broncos gave them two packages to choose from, and what the Saints chose was a first round this year. So now they're back in the first round again. Congratulations, Saints fans! Y'all have a first round pick, and a next year second, because I felt like at the end of the day the Saints were going to let Sean Payton's contract go because they made mistakes and they need a first round pick. So now they have one.
One of the things that I always worry about is where it went wrong with the with Sean Payton and the Saints organization, but we'll never know. But at least he's kind of got into a better situation. Well, I guess better compared to his couch that he's
Well,
coaching in the
he was
NFL
working with the
again.
Fox. He was working with the Fox team last time I
Yeah, he
checked.
was he was
So he was
an
already he was
analyst or
still
something.
making money. Now he's like, yeah, let me go
Yeah,
back in. I had a break. It was a nice break.
yeah. That was the I think Dennis Allen filled in for them pretty well too, so that probably made the decision to trade him easier. But when you wave that $100 bill, that first round draft pick in front of someone, it kind
Well,
of makes
yeah,
the decision easier, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
but I
needed
think
it.
the funny thing out of this for me is that is from what I've heard right now, at least on Twitterverse, feels like Broncos fans are kind of repeating themselves from last year, where they're acting like they're about to win the Super Bowl. Not that they got Sean Payton. Last year it was they're going to win the Super Bowl because they got Russ Wilson. I think it's good for
Yeah,
Russ. It'll be probably a better environment, right?
Yeah, because Sean Payton was a bit of like the quarterback whisperer for Drew Brees because he got him out of the Chargers years ago, and then of course brought them to a Super Bowl eventually. I feel like it was a mix of a lot of like issues with like the head hunting that Saints had, and then of course they had obviously they started putting money into a lot of players and it started to kick them in the butt, obviously, and it's still being felt today. So I feel like that was kind of the issues with Sean Payton and the Saints in like his last couple years or so with Drew Brees too, because like he knew he wasn't going to win with Drew Brees again. It was like that one they had a chance to go, and Drew Brees was looking up like, oh, yep, that's over. It's over for Drew Brees, right? So it was just one of those things. And Sean Payne's not really about like, oh, I'm not really about like rebuilding. I've already rebuilt this team to where it was. I was just trying to do one last thing. Didn't work out. Broncos, they got a new quarterback the year before. They, they have a solid defense still. Injuries. Everyone's going to come back from those injuries. Hopefully, sooner for them. I personally don't care what the Broncos do from here on out, but Russ had a pretty good final game. If he can just capitalize on that and do the same thing next year, maybe they can finally start realizing. But they got some holes to fill in though,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, their
for that
defense
team.
obviously isn't going to perform as well after trading away Bradley Chubb, and I think the stats kind of back that up too. They were
I
giving
mean,
up
they
like,
were actually doing pretty good. It was just, like they had all those like low scoring, those boring games. You said that you were like, oh, this was a boring game. That's because their defense literally kept them in the game the whole game, but the offense just was like, yeah, let's not be good today.
and I think that so the where I'm coming from when I say that is, they weren't. It wasn't the narrative wasn't, if the Broncos just scored 18 points a game, they'd be like, 8-2. It was they were giving up a little bit more points, but the funny thing was is I think that kind of put them in a situation where their backs were against the wall, and that kind of allowed Russ to be Russ, which was this guy that was just ad libbing, left and right, and that's why I think they were scoring a lot more come towards the end of the season. Um,
They're like,
the
oh, this is how we use Russ.
yeah, we put ourselves in a hole and then try to make him fight fight his way out. But I think the tricky bit with this though is you don't really have a lot to work with if you're the Broncos organization in terms of adding young talent. Obviously, I think you have your free agency that you can try to add people in.
If they have the cap. I haven't even looked at
I
their
haven't
cap.
looked at their cap.
I think their cap situation is pretty bad if I remember, but like did you want
They
to talk we saw that one tweet where they were talking about like what the Broncos gave up for all they've done, and it's just so much.
Yeah, yeah, you find that tweet, you can rattle it off. But I think come draft time, they don't have any more picks in the first two rounds. They have a third round pick, I think they got from
Mhm.
Indianapolis.
Mhm.
So they're going to be kind of scraping I mean, obviously good players can be found anywhere in the draft, but you're not in a good position to find a lot of good players, starting in the third round. So they're kind of
You never know. There's a lot of teams, like even the Chiefs. A lot of their rookie class, from first to seventh, was contributing in that last game.
that's true. And so
So
that's the but the point is that I'm trying to get to is that with the Broncos, you're kind of gonna have a lot of the last year's team carrying over into this year, and
mhm.
so it'll really be a test for Sean Payton to see what he can do with the majority of the roster carrying over from last year, if he
Yeah.
can get a tune out of him, because it'll be an interesting project. He's gonna have a lot of spotlight on him.
They currently have only like 8 million in free agency, so it's like good
Is it
luck.
adjusted with the new cap and stuff?
That's what the new. I think that's what the new cap. Yeah, it's using. I'm on over the cap. Love that website, but
That's
it's
your new
using.
homepage.
It's my homepage, but it's using the new base salary cap, and they're at eight, or they're at 9 million, but effective cap space is 8 million. So they still
Oh
don't
yeah.
have much. They don't have much to work with. They're not in the red like some other teams on here are, but
What are the
like
Saints at? Just out of curiosity, because we were
the
talking about them.
Saints are literally at the bottom. They're about 60 million in the red, or
Yikes.
63 million in the red.
That's not a good situation to be in,
They're
is it?
about to cut a lot of people. Like they're about to let a lot of people go and
Hey, if
then
Cam
just
if
get
Cam
whoever they
Jordan
can
has to
get.
go, I don't mind.
I would sign Cam Jordan.
I would I would trade my left arm for Cam Jordan.
But Broncos have a lot of and the short of it is they have some. I don't see any notable like, well, Kareem Jackson, safety, who played over 93% of their snaps at 35. He's a free agent. Don't know what they're what he's gonna do. Some other notable ones was a right
Michael Thomas. I think Michael
tackle.
Thomas is the one that they were. I don't know if it's been worked through yet, but they restructured his contract so that they could void him.
Yeah, so yeah, he's not on this list or anything like that. And there's not much. I see Dakota Allen. Oh, Dakota Allen. Wow, that's just a that's a player from Last Chance U.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, Dakota Allen. He was a linebacker from Texas Tech. I just saw his name. So he's a free agent. Not many other. No, Marlon Mack at receiver is a free agent. Draymond Jones, inner defensive lineman at 26 years old, um, is also up. Latavius Murray, Alex Singleton. This is just like a lot of like mostly vets, and there's some young players that are out of their rookie contract or shorter contract, vets that have shorter contracts. So there's some 27-year-olds like Andrew Beck, and stuff like that. But yeah, they need to kind of rebuild, retool. So I don't know how they're going to do their any re-signings, or their free agency is going to be kind of slim to none. So
Yeah.
at the
So
short of it.
they don't have a lot to work with for both teams, I guess.
Yeah, so it's just you can, they're in the middle. They're like right smack dab in the middle, kind of like where everyone is with their, they're not too good, but they're not too bad with their cap space. Some other teams, like I said, the Saints and the Bucks are really bad with their cap space. Like Bucks is at 55 million in the red. So
Ew.
that's why I'm saying Tom Brady ain't going to stay, because I don't
They
think they
better
have the money
repossess
to.
that stadium.
Yeah, they don't have money to give him a 1 year deal where it's like most fully, if not mostly guaranteed, right? So, you know, it's just one of those things. So Broncos, they had, like you said, they're gonna fight an uphill battle, but that's what Sean Payton's. That's what they got Sean Payton to do, right?
Hey, that's what you signed up for if you take the job.
Facts.
And so, I mean, for the Saints, they're kind of it's the Saints. They're the spotlight is now on their scouting and recruiters, or not scouting and talent evaluation, because a lot of expectations are going to come from that first
And
round
the
pick.
Senior Bowl practice started this week, so that was something. And I'm gonna try to watch the Reese's Senior Bowl, because I got NFL Plus, so why not? And we have a number 5 pick, so I'm
What
really
a
gonna be like,
flex!
we could the biggest flex. But it's not really it's not that big of a flex. It's okay.
It's
It
okay.
helps in times though. It's okay.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's it. That's all I had on Sean Payton with the head
yeah.
coach thing. So we'll see. Hopefully, he can bring them from the ashes into a flaming phoenix once again. But we'll
Oh
see.
man, I feel like you already have a poem written about him.
No,
Bring them from the ashes like a phoenix in the night sky.
Sean Payton. No, I'm
You
kidding.
just wanted to just it's not even close to John Cena.
Not even close. Not at all. But yeah. So any other news out there for any head coaches?
D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, is now the head coach of the Texans.
Yep. Yep. It's finally, it's really good to see another brother in the head coaching position, because you don't see a lot of black head coaches out there. But hey, what can I say? You have a really promising, like, defensive minded head coach. Now you just got to pair him with the offensive coordinator. Like we were kind of talking in the Discord like the other day. Um, I did see some extra news on that the Houston Texans were going. I guess this might have been from D'Amico Ryan's telling them, but like the Houston Texans are going to also talk with the passing game coordinator from the 49ers as their offensive coordinator. So the Shanahan system, continues, or the tree, continues to grow, right?
Yeah, and D'Amico Ryan's, it's kind of like the homecoming hero, or that kind of
Yeah,
thing. He
it's coming
he
back
he spent
home.
Yeah, he's coming back home. He spent a lot of years at the Texans. He's loved by fans. I think this is a win-win. A lot of or This is a win in multiple aspects, right? Because you're getting a bright defensive-minded head coach,
Hmm.
and with a hometown hero coming back to coach the team, you take a lot of focus away from the organization and how kind of shitty it is.
Yeah.
Because man, I didn't know how to feel about this when I heard this, because I like D'Amico Ryans, I like defensive coaches, but we know how bad the Texans are. Is that Bill O'Brien's fault? Probably, but it starts
Yes.
at ownership too,
Hmm.
because that's well documented as well. What that situation is like. So I want D'Amico Ryans to succeed. Texans have had 5 coaches or 4 coaches in 5 years or something like that. Some
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. D'Amico Ryans is on a 6-year deal, so at least he's going to be paid if he gets fired early. But I don't want that to happen to him. I hope he has like a lot of success down there because
Yeah,
he's.
I didn't see how much of like I don't even know like what the number is for that 6 year deal, but
I don't
hopefully
know if it's been made public yet.
yeah, hopefully most if not all of it is like guaranteed because hey, if he gets fired, the best job is a fired head
Ain't
coach.
no job better than a fired head coach. But, he's coming into a situation where, the defense actually on Texans, we gave him a lot of props, throughout the season because they kind of, had their moments where they balled out and bringing
Yeah.
a guy like D'Amico Ryans to come in and coach a lot of young players, I think they're going to succeed. Where their defense was really let down was on offense. And how often they had to put themselves out on the field because that offense was, unable to string together a first down.
They have the number 2 overall pick. They're gonna go. They're they don't have the number 1, but they have the number 2, and they're gonna go and get a quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I think. Well, they do have a lot of holes. Like you can honestly speak like any best player they can just add onto this team, but they already did that the last draft with a corner, with Stingley Jr. But now they need a quarterback because Mills is not the answer. He had a like apparently he had a really good like rookie year compared to like all the other rookies alongside him, but it didn't continue into the year after and stuff like like Trevor Lawrence did and all that stuff. So unfortunately,
That's,
he's gonna be a backup if not go somewhere else.
I had a lot of hope for Davis Mills when he got drafted. I think he might be a victim of like similar to like the Jets curse with quarterbacks,
Yeah.
where he has complete, he has inconsistency at the head coaching and offensive philosophy um, perspective, and that's probably where what stunted his growth to the point where he might not be an NFL quarterback now. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I feel like he'll still get a chance. It's more of like he'll be that a bridge quarterback for someone else, if not a backup. But hey, at the very least, he stuck his neck out for the Houston Texans at the end of the
That big ass neck. You didn't mean to even say that too.
day. No, who knows?
The
Pun
goddamn giraffe.
intended. Pun intended.
No, he we know how important it is because if you invest a lot in a young quarterback because that is what your offense goes through at the end of the day, even if you're a run first team.
Hmm.
But if you they need to be nurtured. Very few quarterbacks come out of college ready to just lead an offense of grown men that are older than them, right?
Hmm. And they're
And
gonna
so
definitely go and draft another one because they're not sticking with Davis
yeah, they
Mills.
they, they I feel like they fucked that one up pretty
Well,
bad.
when you have like Bryce Young or these other quarterbacks, from Alabama, from Ohio State, and whatever,
Yeah,
they're
you
gonna
have your
take a
options
pick
when you're
at.
that high up.
Because what did the Cardinals do? They went back to back quarterback picks, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is a very good example. But
So I mean,
Josh Rosen was absolutely awful.
yeah, yeah, he went to like what 6 other teams afterward, and then
Yeah, I don't
just
know. Yeah.
never to be heard from again.
He should
So
have played tennis.
should have played tennis. But
Yeah,
other than that, I just want to also just say like thank you, mother, because you have the Houston Texans
do you actually
season
call your
tickets.
mom mother?
No, I actually call her by her name.
Oh,
Funny
really? You
story
on a
enough.
first name basis?
Yeah, we're on a first name basis.
Shit, I'm still scared I get slapped the shit out of if I call my mom by her first name.
No, it's weird because I have like this weird like I have a cognitive dissonance in my head of like when I talk about my mother, I'm just like hello mother, or I'll say mother or mom or something like that. But in actuality, I call my grandparents mom and dad, and I call my parents by their first names. And this is like not it's just due to like a lot of like events that's happened in our lives for it to even get to that point. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
yeah, it's okay because I already know like especially I already know some people are like you call first of all what, and then it's just like yeah I know I've already had this like in high school, had it in college, like whenever we had like to bring their parents out to I remember like one little quip was just my mother was there in high school, and then we brought all of our mothers. It was like a whole thing for mothers. We did like a Mother's Day thing, cool. And I remember I got up to say my speech, and I was just like Kelly, and then all the mothers out there were like,
Mm.
and I said, and I said, okay, mother. I was just like, I was just like, oh my gosh, y'all are not my mother. She is.
You could just sense the judgment in the room when you said that.
Judgment. They were like, he calls it by that first name. Like there was some other stuff that came out. Like for me, that wasn't the weirdest thing. I know for them it was, But for some other people, I saw like a football player like kiss his own mother on the mouth, and I was just like,
Tom
well,
Brady style.
Tom Brady style, real
Tom-
talk, like just like no hesitation. Just I was just like, so he kissed his own mother. And I said, what is up with the lip kissing of parent to child? That makes no sense to me at all,
yeah.
at all. That's just me. This is just my opinion, and that's just me. But anywho, coming all the way back, all the way back to it. Thank you, brother, for having those season tickets. I might just might go out see a Houston Texans game one day. Who knows?
Yeah, you probably be in for a treat. I think D'Amico Ryan's is gonna have a good has gonna have a
It's
good.
better to be a Houston Texans fan than a Cowboys fan. So hey,
Ain't that the truth?
but
Um,
hopefully he does well. He got a lot of he has a lot of picks to work with. I think they still have the same GM they had before, so it's just a matter of getting like their offensive coordinator position up to snuff, and because they're just doing interviews for it right now. So hopefully he gets the people he want on his staff. And hey, congratulations, D'Amico Ryan, you are now a head coach.
yeah, for sure. But next next story up that we got, we don't usually give a bit of love to non-head coaching news, but Kellen Moore both fired and hired in a 24-hour period.
The
Fired from
weirdest
the
thing.
fired from the Dallas Cowboys, and less than 24 hours later, the new offensive coordinator for Brandon Staley's Chargers. What do you think, man?
I well one so I okay so they're actually I have like opinions on both sides. So just for one, it's well besides it being the funniest headline of all, it was time for Moore to move on from the Cowboys because I forgot how long he's been there because he even played quarterback for them as like a backup quarterback too, and then transitioned to their offensive coordinator and stuff. Especially where Kellen Moore's I believe he was from Boise State, and that was when they were like going heavy air raid and stuff like that, right?
Oh
So
no, that was Chris Peterson's prime years too. So that was when he was head coach over there. They were doing all sorts of things, just coming up with all sorts of trickery.
yeah, I was saying like I think because Kellen Moore was the quarterback for Boise State
Yeah,
at the time,
yeah,
I
yeah. What I
believe.
mean is that they weren't necessarily air raid, but yeah, they were slinging it a lot back
All I
then.
remember was like 50+ point games and
Oh
like
yeah,
5 touchdowns a game type stuff,
that was
right?
I
So
think him and Andy Dalton were in college at the same time. So if that's any
yes,
indication for you, I think Boise State was 3, TCU was 4, or something like that, or came down
yeah,
something like that. But if that puts it into perspective, Andy Dalton is still playing in the NFL, and Kellen Moore is out
I
here
feel
as
like
a
Andy Dalton's
coach.
going to be out. He was a good bridge. I feel like they just need to figure something out now that they have a first round pick again. Maybe just try to just shoot for a quarterback at this point because none of it is working.
Man, every team that comes up, you're like, just go get a quarterback. Just go get a
No,
quarterback.
Saints really need
Saint,
a quarterback
yeah.
because they've been doing this the rush like the roulette of like who was it the tight end I'm just forgetting names all of a
Oh
sudden.
man, why am I blanking on it now? Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill's not the truth because he would have just you would have just kept him in there. He's just a gadget player. He's not your quarterback. Jameis Winston, I'm not even sure what to say about him after all these injuries and stuff like that. Andy Dalton's just not. It's not working because every time watching the Saints this past season, I know we're kind of going on a tangent, but the Saints always like they failed on offense when
Oh
they
yeah.
needed it most. Their defense was solid. It's just like they just had a middling, if not below average offense, especially when they put a Chris Olave on there, which he's been solid for them. It's just like,
Even like Alvin Kamara hasn't been, the Alvin Kamara of old, but you just kind of expect it because they ran so much of their offense through him.
yeah, well, it's not like well, one he was throwing the ball mostly because the when Drew Brees was there, he just kept on like checkdowns to that man. And that's why he made his name over there with him. So not using him for what because he's not really like he's not a bruiser running back. So but coming all the way back to Kellen Moore, I think it was about time. I'm not sure how long he's been with the Cowboys. I just know that Dak has been there for 7 years. Like everyone kept saying seven. I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, it has been 7 years. Time really does fly.
Yeah, I mean, it probably
So
doesn't fly for them when they're in constant pain, but for us fans that are us non-Cowboys fans, it definitely does.
right, and Kellen Moore, I feel like he's done what he can for that team, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing else you can do, especially with that last play where Zeke was the center and stuff like that, and it just didn't go anywhere. I think at
Mhm.
that point, it's about time you just go and try new things. And the Chargers definitely needed a new offensive coordinator, and Kellen Moore is the perfect one to pair with Justin Herbert. He's
Yeah,
very quarterback friendly, so be prepared to see like a lot of throws down the field. Finally, I'm not sure who Chargers' new deep threat will be because they don't have a deep threat right now.
mhm.
Keenan Allen's not as fast as he used to be, so he's more of like your route runner. and Mike Williams was your deep threat, but all those injuries, I feel like that's going to come back to bite him. So they need to go and find a deep threat, but be prepared to see Justin Herbert throw the ball down the field for a change.
Yeah, if you're a Chargers fan, I think you'd be over the moon. I think the main story out of this is, I mean, the Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones are trying to convince everyone that Kellen Moore was the problem, and that's they basically try to turn him into a scapegoat. And what the funniest thing about that is that if you thought that he was the problem and he gets a job 24 hours later, that doesn't really instill confidence in your decision into firing him.
Yeah, and Mike McCarthy is just not a good head coach at this point in time. And really, the problem with the Cowboys, again, we've said it before, Jerry Jones is the problem. Jerry Jones, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, he's holding you back.
Or
That's
at
all I
least
have to
GM.
say.
If he
No,
keeps his
yeah,
if,
Jerry Jones is literally like he's control. He wants a head coach he can control. That's what
yeah,
Mike McCarthy's there for. A yes man in this case, or one that rolls with him. He is like he's a very involved owner, and then he's basically like the GM. I feel like they have one, but it's just Jerry Jones. He is the
yeah,
GM.
he's
So
trying to run it like a family business.
yes, basically, and we know that like his son, I guess, is up to take it over. He has like what a couple sons over there or something like that, like in
Yeah, I
like
think they're just
positions and
spread out
stuff.
across like exec positions.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's more of like a family business. They just like to have their hands all up in the recipe book so they can just do whatever because Jerry Jones is trying to chase after that Super Bowl. He's not going to get. I promise you that.
I mean, that's the damning
You heard
thing
it here
is,
first, folks. Missed Raps podcast right here has said Jerry Jones will not win a Super Bowl ever. Period.
yeah, and well, he's won it, but he won't win another one.
He with whose team?
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, and he knows it too. He already came out and talked about that, so I'm not worried. Well, I know he has one under his belt. Don't get me wrong, but that's not really his ring, and that's what's really getting him every single day. That's why they had to get rid of somebody after this season, right?
Yeah, and if you're, I feel like that was I mean, the offensive coordinator is the person you're going to fire, especially after fans saw a play like that. But we all know it wasn't Kellen Moore's fault.
Kellen
The
Moore's he's
he's a
he
very
chose the right time to leave. I'll tell you why in a
to be
second.
forced out.
Yeah, to be forced out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the other bit of news that I heard around that was that Mike McCarthy is saying that he's going to take over play calling duties again, which for reference, I think that's what happened with Packers right before he got fired. He had an offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator got fired. He took over play calling duties again, and I think he was fired within a year or two.
Yep, yep.
And so,
So it's just repeating itself again because he knows everything. But at the end of the day, Jerry Jones is he has like his hands and everything. It's almost like he's a puppet at times. So, but the really big thing that Kellen Moore got to avoid was what the Cowboys are going to do this offseason.
yeah, it's
Because one,
late on me because they're not in a good situation, are they?
yeah, fun fact, because the cap is now 224.8 million, but in the 2023, if they keep all these players, they will account for over 129.34 million, almost 130 million of their cap next season, and that's between Dak, Zeke, Tyron Smith, and Zach Martin, excuse me, and Demarcus Lawrence. That's your five players that are counting for like over half of your cap right now, which I know not all going to be there. I feel like Tyron Smith is going to get let go. He's not playing the same like he used to be, especially after those injuries. His big injury this season, I think it was this season, no, last season, he had that big injury. So he has not been playing the same. Zeke, I think it's about time to let him go. I even had like a mini argument with the Cowboys fan too, that like
Wait,
I said,
you had an argument with a Cowboys fan that wanted to keep Zeke?
he was saying that we're going to keep Zeke. I'm like, but come on. What did you, I told him, like, what did you do with DeMarco Murray after he had that one season where like he just wasn't the same DeMarco Murray? And I was like, he was like, we let him go. I was like, you're going to do the same thing to Zeke, especially
Yeah,
with the contract you have on him. You're going to try to find some way to get out of that contract as much as possible.
I thought it was funny when Zeke came out and said, "I would like to return to the Cowboys next year," and everybody else was like, "That's not your choice, buddy."
Yeah. And then Pollard had like the leg injury and like
Yeah,
he had
that's the thing.
it's a lot of stuff because people were like, I want Pollard to be the starting running back, but Pollard's a free agent now. I don't know what they're gonna do, but either way, you got like Dak has already taken like out of that 129, I'll just say 130 million, just to round it up. Dak is like taking like 49 of it 49 million of it. So the other part is like, 15 or so is like for Tyron Smith. Another 13 is for Zeke. Zach Martin has like 15 million. And then Demarcus Lawrence. I think Demarcus Lawrence was also like, he was really high, and
It
that
should be
was
about
scary.
20 or something
Yeah, it's about like 20 million for him. He was like the second highest. So that was funny.
because
And
he's defensive end. So
yeah, it's his cap. I remember seeing like, oh yeah, here's his cap number is 26 million. Zach Martin is 19.89 million. Tyron Smith is 17.6 million. And for all those that don't remember, this is when like this is from the time when they all like when the Cowboys started like paying that whole O line at the time when their O line was really good. So it's just all coming like right now. It's all coming to it right like to a head
yeah,
right now. Uh, yeah, Zeke is also at 16.7 million. So, and Michael Gallup's at 13.8, but I don't know if they're going to keep him either. But it's after that, it's like you took out like a lot of your line. That's like two of your offensive linemen right there. You're gonna let. I know they're gonna let Zeke go, or they reschedule that contract. It's one or the other. So it's just not working. And right now, the Cowboys are actually in the red as of right now. They are,
hard to
yeah,
feel bad for Cowboys fans.
right. I'm not feeling bad. Like they're set, like it says a cap space is 7 million in the red, or actually it's really 10 million in the red. So they had to make some cuts. A
Yeah, for
lot of
sure.
them.
And I can see, like you said, the offensive lineman probably being first to go, just based off of age and injury history. Because I think every single one of those offensive linemen have had to deal with some form of serious injury or the other, and it adds up.
Yep, it adds up. There's not much else to say. Like I said, Kellen Moore kind of dodged like a wary bullet to try to work with like whatever the offense is going to look like next season.
Yep, I have never heard of an NFL coach getting a job within 24 hours of being fired. So
Oh, that was a
um,
first. That
that
was a
was
first for me. That was the Chargers were just like desperate. I feel like that was like a desperate move by the Chargers to like, unless they were just in touch with him or something. So I don't know what happens behind the scenes of when they can. I guess they just. I feel like I might have missed it. I might have missed it when they said, "Oh, Chargers are talking to Kellen Moore or something like that." Unless I just missed that one, so I didn't see it.
there's a lot of options that they could have gone down to because like what we've seen recently, like when we hired Shane Waldron, is like a positions coach gets that the next step up for a positions coach is a coordinator job, right? And
Hmm.
so there are a lot of high flying offenses in the league. So there were a lot of like probably passing game coordinators, like D'Amico Ryans might take 49ers passing game coordinator with him. A lot of those kind of candidates that were out there. So I imagine they thought this one through. I don't think it was desperation on that part, but I think I think the reason why I don't think anybody saw this coming, and I think that's why they acted as quickly as they did because they know what kind of candidate that Kellen Moore is.
I said Kellen Moore is quarterback friendly, and that's what Justin Herbert needs. He needs a coordinator to just trusted him and
Yeah,
actually let him throw the ball down the field and not all these check downs or
get
little
a
short passes and
yeah,
stuff
and
like
let
that.
them get a run game again, man, because that was brutal.
Oh yeah, I mean Austin Eckler is like he's an amazing running back, and it's just that like when you know that they're never going to throw down the field, you can always just stack the box. So he just never had a chance to run. He can actually just run from the box. He had like he had one run where it was like 60-yard run to the touchdown and stuff from like actually not throwing him the ball. But even still, it was really frustrating. I bet you some Chargers fans out there were just like, yo, we are just wasting Justin Herbert's like years because I believe it's his contract years next year along with Burrow.
Yeah,
So we're gonna be talking about two other big contracts next season.
for sure. And I think we talk about the games that they lost, late and stuff like that, or where they allowed comebacks. And when you're relying on a heavy passing offense, when the passing ain't passing, then you open yourself up to give the other team a lot of time to come back in, right? Because that's how the clock works.
But just watch out, because I feel like the charge. I think Brandon's on like the bit of a hot seat now though after this. So it's just a matter of time. It's just he got one more season basically. Um,
I mean, we were
it-
saying the same thing about what he did with Vince Lombardi, right? When when
mhm.
they when they fired him, but I don't think Vince Lombardi is on the same caliber, at least in terms of like. I mean, obviously he has a lot of respect around the league because he's a Lombardi, but in terms of like acumen, I think people
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
respect Kellen Moore a
It's
lot
not
more.
about like comparing him to Kellen Moore. It's about like a lot of people were like the media was already saying like Brandon's like on the hot seat. Like they were saying like he should have get fired if he doesn't win this game and stuff like that. So someone did get fired, but it wasn't him. That's why I feel like he's one of the coaches on the hot seat. Like if they have another middling season and they don't make the playoffs with what happened this season, I think it's done
Yeah, for sure.
personally.
I think so too.
Yep.
But
And
with that, I think I mean there are a couple. I mean Vic Fangio,
mhm.
he was rumored to be part of Sean Payton's staff. He's joining the Dolphins as defensive coordinator. Pretty respected defensive coordinator. Didn't really have much notes on it. Just added it there just as a last thing to touch on because I think that was the only other bit of news. But hopefully the Dolphins actually get some semblance of a defense because they need something to balance out that high octane offense for sure.
Well, that's if, a certain quarterback can stay healthy
Yeah,
because
and that's
he's still on
he's
concussion
still in
protocol.
concussion protocol. I don't. God damn it, dude! Like this is a human issue at this point.
Exactly, bro. Like I feel like it's worse than it's really just like we're not all talking about it, but we all know that it's bad like with Tua at this point. I don't know how bad. We'll see what happens as the years go by. But if you, I'm just gonna say it here, and I love Tua. I want you to be successful. You are. I want you to make your money. I want you to make your family happy. I want you to be happy. It's just that I feel like we're gonna start seeing some similar stories, and everyone's gonna come back to this particular season talking about when he had three or more concussions in a whole season.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna this is definitely a bullet point on his timetable in the future for sure.
yeah, like how everyone said, well, I'm not saying he's going to be like Antonio Brown, but just like how everyone with Antonio Brown can go literally say, I think it was this game right here where he got cracked in that Steelers Bengals game. That's where it started. I just feel
Yeah,
like this is the season, the 2022 season for Tua, sadly. But yeah, I think that's all we had around the league.
yeah. You wanna take us into the conference games that I reluctantly want to talk about
Of
one
course,
at least.
I got you, buddy. So we had the NFL Conference Championships. You only had two games here. You got the Bengals and the Chiefs and the 49ers and the Eagles. So we're going to start with the worst game that I know Kanal hates, which is the Bengals at Chiefs. Like, come on. They say it was
Yeah.
Burrow Field. And,
Oh
bro,
God.
the Bengals were talking so much smack for the past, like, what, two, whether it's through Eli Apple or like Joe Burrow calmly just being confident and stuff
Or like
like
the
that.
governor or the mayor of Cincinnati was also like was he was throwing shade at them too.
Let
But
them,
that
let them. I want them to be excited. Just let them be excited because they have not been like this deep in the playoffs in like a matter of years. If you really think about it, they were just
consecutively
at the
too.
super
Yeah.
consecutively, and they were
Yeah.
at the Super Bowl. So it really says a lot. But unfortunately, um, I'll just say this: it was a very for me, it was a really tight game. I watched a good chunk of it. Um, wow, it was really like that last few drives and the penalties and stuff like that kicked in for the Bengals, and that led the Chiefs all the way in. They couldn't block, they couldn't block that field goal. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. I feel like they could have kept like the Chiefs from at least scoring once, but it's just one of those things. And finally, like I said earlier in the episode, um, the Chiefs draft class had a very impactful day. You had, and this is literally from round one to round seven rookies. So we had cornerback Trent McDuffie had
Go
six
Huskies.
tackles. Yeah, go Huskies. Six tackles, two passes defended. You had the defensive end George Karlaftis had a sack. Sky Moore, the wide receiver, had three catches and a key punt return. The safety Brian Cook, four tackles and pass block breakup. Corner Joshua Williams had an interception. Corner Jalen Watson had an interception. Running back Isaiah Pacheco had 85 total yards, and then yeah, like they all contributed. Like if all your rookies needed to come through, it was that game, and it came out. Hey, they came
For a
out
team in the position that the Chiefs are, which is like they're constantly trying to retool and make another run because they obviously gave Patrick his contract, and so
half
uh,
$1 billion.
yeah, $500 million, and so they got to if they're able to draft like this year in and year out, then Patrick Mahomes' window is as open as his contract. They got a lot of good things to look forward to
They
if they
live
can
and
keep
die by
drafting like
Patrick
that.
Mahomes
Well,
at
I
this
mean that's what
point.
this game kind of came down to because this game was tight throughout, but like I gotta the first thing I gotta get off my chest is that it kind of came down to the refing on this one, or a good game is a treat, right? When it comes down to
Mm-hmm.
23-20, it's like it's a treat for everybody that's not on the losing side. But
Facts.
the refereeing on this game was so bad that they kind of took the entire spotlight away from him. Like there were multiple calls that kind of like everybody was scratching their heads at. The one that everyone points at was like the redo on the third down try. And not only that, they were because there was a quote unquote clock issue, they couldn't just whistle the play dead. They let the play run, and then they whistled it,
Yeah,
and then they gave him the redo, and the Bengals stopped them again. But then they kind of called him on a sus Eli Apple like defensive holding penalty,
yep,
and basically gave them the first down. And that's where everyone was like, "All right, the script is set. It's going to be a Kelsey brother Super Bowl." But
basically.
I remember seeing like there was like another play where there was a fourth down stop and Marquette and MVS like reached across what they deemed as looking as a reach across the line, but from my perspective, it didn't really look like he reached it, and but they overturned it on the challenge. I think they had to challenge on that play, and then there was also the late hit on Mahomes that kind of sealed um, Bengals' fate in this game with that
Hmm.
extra 15 yards on that final drive. It came on a play where there was like blatant holding, and then there was also like Joe Burrow like a few like a just like earlier in that quarter took a pretty
Hmm.
late hit and it wasn't called, and so everybody is like crying foul about it, and I see where it's coming from. Usually you say there's bad refing on both sides, but this time it seemed like bad refing on the or favorable of Chiefs.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
But overall in this
Mm.
game, like Joe Burrow had a pretty mediocre game to start with. I mean, I'm not gonna try to take away anything from that Chiefs defense because, like you named off all these defensive players on the Chiefs. Like they held Joe Burrow to 270, a TD, and two picks. Not really his fault kind of picks. They were kind of like bobbled passes, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But Patrick Mahomes had 326 and two TDs, so it kind of came down to that, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was just one of those where it's like you just need everything. So I mean, then you guys, I see you got some other stats right here you want to talk about if you want to go through those too.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more. I mean, I think what I was gonna say was that I think Chiefs did a pretty great job of shutting down the Bengals' run game because
Hmm.
Joe Mixon was limited to like I don't have the stat written down, but it was like something like less than 25 yards,
Mm.
and it felt like Chris Jones and Frank Clark lived in the Bengals' backfield. So you can't take anything away. The Chiefs basically turned this into a Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes game,
Yeah,
and in that situation, Patrick Mahomes came out on top because we all know that the run game is kind of limited on the Chiefs, so it's basically just quarterback versus quarterback on this one.
yeah, and of course you got Burrow having his big contract coming up, whatever that's going to look like next season as well. Basically, who's going to get their contract first, Justin Herbert or Burrow? Because whoever gets it first, the second one's going to want more than the other.
Yeah, and I think that's the funny thing, right? Because like Joe Burrow probably you can say that there is quality, right? You can make that argument which one is better, and you could probably say Justin Herbert is better on that aspect, but Joe Burrow has taken them nearly to two Super Bowls, or he's had two deep playoff runs, and I don't
Where
think,
did Herbert go? He only went
yeah,
as far as a wild card game, and then that's it, I
yeah,
believe.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that anytime a quarterback gets like big money, it's going to be headline news. So we'll see what happens with that one.
I think also one thing to note is that the Chiefs kind of need to win it to make it worth it because they're in the red. They're about like, well, it says their cap space is like 13 million, but like they're in the red by like 800,000. So it's kind of one of those things where like they're gonna let some people go after this season. Like a lot of people are about to just go to other teams. Some key people. You got Orlando Brown, the left tackle, Juju Smith Schuster, Carlos Dunlap. If you remember that, if you remember him, um, let me see who else. That's you got Chad Henney of all people.
Anything is
He's
possible.
yeah. Ronald Jones is the second. Pretty much after that, like McCole Hardman is up. He's 25 years old. Didn't really, he kind of plays like situational and stuff like that. But wide receiver there, Jarek McKinnon, 31 though. Dion Bush, safety. Not much else I can kind of see. They're like big names that they have to try to like work to keep, but their biggest one is Andrew Wiley, I believe that's his name, because he played 95% of the snaps at right tackle, and he's 29. So we'll see what
and
happens
and with
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 those.
with how Mahomes is starting to pick up ankle injuries and stuff like that because he had that issue 2 years ago against the Bucks.
Well, he
It's
had
kind
it
of
last week. He had
well,
an
no, I
ankle
mean
or a
what I
knee
mean is
issue,
that it's
really.
like he's starting to build up this injury history a little bit, and I'm not saying he's injury prone, but you need to ensure that you have that talent on the offensive line to protect
He
him.
always walks as if he's stiff, man. Like he doesn't like to lift up his leg and stuff when he's walking or trotting on the field. So it's
He
like I
has a
can
little bit of
see
a
those.
waddle, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I need you to go and find a clip of him just like walking or like trotting during the game and just put it right here because that man just he just trots and he's like he's stiff. I know he can like he can do little bits of like, oh, I can scramble, I can at least get enough and get, get out of the way, but it's like he's just so stiff. And I feel like that stiffness is gonna cause him to get like last week he had a almost a knee injury, or he had a sprain, like a knee sprain or an ankle sprain, maybe both.
It was an ankle
But
sprain. Yeah,
yeah,
that's where I was.
ankle. Yeah, so it was an ankle sprain on that one, and he got through it. It was just like one of those where he probably had to sit out a couple days or something like that. But like those things are going to add up if you're going to get pressure on Mahomes, which is key because the Eagles are going to bring it. Just
Yeah,
saying.
and that's I think the reason why the Bengals weren't able to get it because on their side of the ball, I don't think they even sacked Patrick Mahomes, and he's hobbled like he was visibly limping for a lot of the game. I can't remember which commentator said it, but they said like Patrick looks slow because of the way he runs, but he's actually like he's pretty quick. And it's just
Hmm.
because it's like all like it looks like like he said like he's cramping or something like that, and he's trying to run through like he's something like that. But I think that and the fact that this entire season it's been such a crapshoot with their wide receiver room,
Yeah.
and MVS kind of came up big. He had 116 and a TD on this one, so yeah, that was
Who was
the
covering
difference.
MVS though?
That's a thing. It was Eli Apple, but Eli
Because
Apple catches some.
he was talking the most. He was talking the most shit, bro.
Yeah, he was talking a lot of shit, but you can talk shit if you shut down Stephon Diggs the week before.
That
So
is very true. Take advantage of that one. So, I mean, hey, Bengals, you almost had it. Sorry, Bengals fans, but unfortunately, Chiefs are back in now. But at the very least, let's move on now to the next big game that was more of like a snooze after a while,
yeah,
and that is the 49ers at Eagles.
it's hard feeling
30.
bad for 49ers fans, right?
Yeah. I didn't say it before. We definitely both said the Bengals were going to beat the Chiefs. We were both wrong on that one. But the 49ers and Eagles, we both said the Eagles were going to get this one. We just didn't know by how much. And 31-7, that says a lot. But I want to actually beforehand, let me just shout out to Nicole Lynn, who's also a Delta. So shout out to the Deltas out there. Is the agent of the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, who's an Omega man. So like, shout out to the Omega, to the Omega fraternity as well. But you have the first black, like basically first black woman to represent an NFL quarterback in the Super Bowl. So that's really good. That's like it's history. That's history right there in the making, black history, if you will. Um, Especially the fact that we have two black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl.
It never happened before, right?
It never happens. The first. It's the first,
Yeah.
and I think that another. It was kind of like I had it set for later, but like they both played in Texas high school football, so that's like also another first there as well.
Oh
So
yeah, dude.
yeah.
I see the picture of like uh Jalen Hurts when he was in high school when he had like blonde dreads or something like that, and I was like,
Oh
who the hell
yeah,
is this kid?
that's that man hurts. I was just dyeing the hair and stuff like that, man. Because I feel like he had like the no, he had like the locks, if not the cornrows for it for a while. But yeah, he it's just again that's history. I want to just shout out to Nicole Lynn because you and like the team around Jalen Hurts have done a great job representing him, and I've seen no issues with him off the field and stuff like that. So he has a good PR team in that respect. And then Jalen Hurts himself. Congrats, man. I wanted you
You
to actually go all the way this year. If anything, like if I had to see a team in there, I was actually telling people I want to see the Eagles because I want to go see another black quarterback in there. Now we're getting two black quarterbacks, so I mean,
yeah.
hey,
And
still,
I think one of the things that I can't remember who said the story, but I believe I think it's Jalen Hurts. I think the people often overlook the fact that his dad is a coach as well, and
yeah,
so he's had football in his life his whole life, and it's been kind of his guiding light for him for a lot of things. He's talked about it, and so this is a it's great to see someone's like story come from beginning to end, where he was a coach's son to playing in the Super Bowl because that's the shit they make movies about.
Of course,
This
right?
this man lived his whole life without Dallas Cowboys ever even winning a conference championship game. So,
Oh, that's
you know,
beautiful right there. Just
that's
so
poetry
beautiful.
in itself.
And then now finally just getting onto the game. Eagles just own the 49ers, and you just love to see it because I saw that I had that one meme I definitely posted on the Instagram on our Instagram channel where it was just like the 49ers getting whooped by the Eagles, and we're just calmly watching them from the back, like, ooh.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I'm glad I saw that meme. Hassan Reddick had I think he had an outstanding game, if not a good first half, because the Eagles actually used him correctly, unlike the Cardinals. So
That's I think the Hassan Reddick story. My cousin's a Eagles fan, and that's like one of the moves that he constantly points to as being a turning point for this team is having him in the backfield because he's just been an absolute monster, game wrecker for them,
actually use like a true edge and not. I think like the Cardinals just try to use him as like the off
like
ball,
a zone linebacker type of
yeah,
thing.
zone,
Yeah,
like he can zoom left and right, but that's what they did with Isaiah Simmons. But like Hassan Reddick was one, just put that man on the line, blitz, all that type of stuff, and he's there. He
and
was
they got the foundation for him to do what they need to, right? With like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham
yes,
and
and they
all those
have
guys.
Jordan Davis too from
Jordan.
Georgia.
Oh yeah, well Jordan Davis actually played for us too.
Yeah, yeah. So, um,
Or no, not Jordan
no,
Davis. I'm
no,
thinking of
Jordan
someone
Davis is
else.
from Georgia.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no,
that's
no,
their
I'm thinking of
rookie.
some. Yeah, yeah, no, I'm thinking of someone else. I think there might have been another Jordan Davis that played for us. But anyway, sorry, that was a side
No, it's all
side note.
good. But they like pretty much the Eagles just played all three phases of the game perfectly. As you can see, 31-7. It was really like there was like I think there was like a turning point in like that or second quarter for them. But at the end of the day, it was when Purdy got that the injury on his throwing arm. He had a complete UCL tear, which for those
You
that
hate
just
to see
don't
it.
know, yeah, you hate to see it. For those that don't know, that is a very important ligament for in the throwing arm. So it was in his throwing arm, not his other arm. Is in his throwing arm, meaning that like he may not be throwing the same like he used to before. He's gonna get surgery on it, and he'll be out 6 months. So I mean, I don't expect him to really start out the season anyway. Some people were saying like we should just start, like, if he was healthy, people probably there's probably like an actual quarterback thing again with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. But at the end of this season for the 49ers, like they had injury after injury in the quarterbacks. You had Trey Lance go down, fractured his fibula, and had ligament damage that required like two surgeries on his ankle. Then you had Jimmy Garoppolo like heading up the team, and then they were really decent. Like with Garoppolo, Garoppolo's just like, it's back, I'm back. But then he suffered a broken foot in December, and he's going to be a free agent now. And then of course you had Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy himself come in and like on a 9 or 10 game win streak for the team, which a lot of people, of course, were going to say like, oh no, it's the system and stuff. But like, no, Brock was
He was
playing.
slinging it.
He was slinging. He was like 300 plus yards per game kind of thing. But now he's out with a UCL
It
tear. So
Their quarterback story for the Niners has been funny this season, hasn't it? Because they started off with Trey Lance, they were doing okay, and then he got hurt in the game against us, and then Jimmy Garoppolo came in, and for some reason it felt like they got better, and then a month or two later, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, and then Brock Purdy comes in, and then all of a sudden they get better. It's like they keep evolving or something.
yeah, it's kind of like us with our running backs. Like we get another running back, it works out, then it just injury. You get another running back, it's really going good. Injury when things are going great. It's just one of those things. So
Yeah,
it just wasn't their year. I think one of the things that it showed was just keeping up the pressure on the quarterback throughout the game, as well as it was a mix of emotions and stuff like that. Because it's not like their defense just disappeared. It's just that when your offense, like when Josh Johnson comes in, and I won't get too deep into that because he also had a concussion. Like my God, and then they put Brock Purdy right back out there. So it's just one of those things where it just completely shattered at the quarterback position. So basically, their offense disappeared, and the defense can only do so much. Because if you keep
yeah.
a defense for like 2/3 of a game, which is what happened to our defense this season, it's going to look bad
Yeah,
regardless.
you can't really do anything about it. And as fans of neither teams, I mean, obviously we don't want the Niners to win because we're Seahawks fans. But as a fan of the sport, you were hoping that this would be the fireworks or the show that it was going to be. But we didn't really get that because, like you said, Brock Purdy tore his UCL, and then Josh Johnson had a concussion, so Brock Purdy had to come back in. And you even see it on the sideline where he was saying like I can't throw and stuff like that, but they had to throw him out there because who else were they going to put, the punter? And like he came in and he came back in, but I think they were just doing like handoff plays to CMC and stuff.
It was literally, they were literally saying, "Who's the fullback again?" With the it's a
Use
weird
check.
last. Yeah, he was actually the emergency quarterback for the team,
Yeah,
and he never got in, obviously. But like, he was supposed to be the emergency quarterback and stuff. So I'm just like, man, they had all their quarterbacks were injured and stuff like that by the end of the season. One of them's out. Two of them, you got, I don't know when Trey Lance or Purdy's going to be back. So I think they're going to just start with another vet
yeah.
in the near future. So
Going back to this game though, I mean, in term on the Eagle side of things, it was like the scary thing is that it was like a game like last time, in that no one on the stat sheet screamed blowout performance. It's not like Jalen Hurts threw for 500 yards or Miles Sanders ran for 150 or something crazy like that. The Eagles rushed the ball 42 times and turned that into 150 yards, which isn't like a crazy amount of yards, right? For that type of conversion, it's less than four, which is good but not great. Not a spectacular rate, but enough to wear down the game over 4 quarters because they were playing to the situation that they were dealing with, which was, a team that didn't have any stability at quarterback anymore or any viable option at quarterback anymore. Because, the 49ers D, even though that they can only
has
do so much, like you said, but I think they didn't register a single sack, which is probably the first time in a while that's happened. I don't
oh
think
wow, they did not have a sack. Wow,
yeah, let
you're
me
right.
confirm that. I saw this in a tweet, but I wanted to confirm it too. I actually forgot to confirm it. Yeah, on the stat sheet, no sacks for anyone on the
Jalen Hurts was protected.
Niners. Yeah, and that, and they just
It's all thanks to Kelsey, Jason
it's
Kelsey
Kelsey,
himself.
Lane Johnson. They have a lot of linemen that
They got the vet linemen on there, like
oh yeah,
the
eh,
good ones, like that Dallas like would love to have, but they don't. Like
yeah,
they
best
actually went over that hump of like we have the good vet linemen. No, now you have like the injured linemen now. So
eh, yeah, and like I think the story was last year was that most of them were hurt, and that was the issue was that they were playing second stringers out there at offensive line. Having everybody back has just been a complete revolution for this team, and so it's finally culminating in Nick Sirianni leading this team to a Super Bowl in his second season, and the story just kind of writes itself from there because Nick Sirianni was fired when Andy Reid took the head coaching job at the Chiefs. Nick Sirianni, he was very popular in the Chiefs organization. They were saying like he's a bright young mind. He was a passing game coordinator, and I think he might have been a some kind of positions coach for the previous staff. But on coming in, like Andy Reid had his guy, so he had to fire Nick Sirianni,
mhm.
and now it's kind of coming full circle for him too.
That's true. And I mean, they don't really have many free agents coming out besides like, Chauncey Gardner Johnson Jr. Gardner Minshew will be a free agent, but like I love Minshew. They
I was telling you at the beginning of our season, like, fuck it, go trade for Minshew. We want to have fun this season. Whatever happens,
Right.
happens.
I was with you on that. And then, of course, like Gino said, no, just hold my beer real quick.
Yeah,
Robert Quinn, Fletcher Cox, Javen Hargrave, James Bradbury are like some of the top names right there. So that's a lot for the D line. They basically invested in the D line this season because they had that one loss and they said, you know what, we're never going to have that one loss ever again. Let me go ahead and just go and get Ndemik Sue and who was it? He also oh yeah Hargrave because like
yeah,
Hargrave's almost like 7 foot tall.
yeah. He's a monster.
Yeah, he's like and he's a monster in his own right, and basically
And Hassan
just
Reddick, just
Son
coming
Reddick. Yep.
mentioning his name again. You can't mention him enough.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's not. And then Miles Sanders kind of like is one of their bigger. Miles Sanders and Boston Scott are up for a contract now. They're both of their running backs they've had. So, oh, and Linville Joseph. That's who it was. It wasn't Hargrave, but it was Linville Joseph they picked up in the season that was a monster. Regardless of the fact though, they have a top 10 pick waiting for him after this season. They have. I think they even have decent cap space too. Like nothing. Actually, no, I lied. They are actually in the red by $1 million. So it's one of those things where like they went all in, as
Yeah,
did the Chiefs. Chiefs are technically always all in, but like Eagles said, this is it. We're going
but
all in.
difference is that they have the Saints first round pick, so they're in a good position
They have
and
two. Yeah.
to keep building on that.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to say here. I can't wait for like the next game with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Like I feel like the Chiefs or not the Chiefs, the Eagles just need to have a great like D line performance, and I feel like they can win that game.
Oh, for sure. I think they definitely got the better matchup. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
funny to say when it's Patrick Mahomes, but the Eagles defense is significantly better than the Bengals defense. Give all respect to the Bengals defense, but
Hmm.
the Eagles defense is on another level. And if you're fielding a team that has Travis Kelsey, the best tight end in the game, but very limited options at wide receiver, um, and a hobbled quarterback, not hobbled, but ailing quarterback, I should say.
Hmm.
I think this could be a recipe for a Bucks versus Chiefs round two. But instead of Bucks, it's the Eagles.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that one. But for the 49ers fans out there, you got some free agents to also look at as well. You got wow, Jordan Matthews, the receiver.
He's still
Wow.
around?
Yeah, he was on the 49ers.
Was he?
Yeah, he's 31 years old now.
Damn.
Yeah, he didn't really
He was
play
on
any
the Eagles,
snaps.
actually, I think.
Yeah, he was on the Eagles straight after that season, but he didn't really play any snaps this season. He was just on the roster. Anywho, I just saw that name and I was like, wow. But you have Jimmy Ward, 32-year-old safety. You got obviously Garoppolo. We mentioned him. Samson Ibukam, their edge player that's 28 years old, played over half the defensive snaps. I think their right tackle, who's 28, is also about to be a free agent, but he's good. He played like over 94% of their snaps. I think they're going to try to re-sign him, hopefully, or in this case, not hopefully. But
Yeah.
Robbie Gold, kicker, is a free agent, 41 years old.
Damn, that's an old kicker. Actually,
That is
tangent. I just remembered the player that I was thinking that I thought was Jordan Davis that was playing on the Seahawks. It was Deion Jordan. I knew it was a Jordan, but
there's a
anyway,
Jordan. There you go.
I had to get that out. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, you're good. Tyler Croft was there, tight end. To Sean Gibson at safety, he played over 96% of those defensive snaps at 33. But it's basically like they're about to get a little bit younger on defense. They're losing a lot of safeties, edge, I think a corner, but like nothing that's like pointing. Oh, another offensive lineman, Jake Brendel, at 31 years old. He played over 98% of the snaps. That's the biggest contributor in this. The other one was a right tackle. So they might have some O line issues coming up. So
And the Chiefs are in a little bit of a predicament, right? Or sorry, not the Chiefs. 49ers are in a little bit of a predicament, right? Because they traded all their picks away for their own picks, I should say. 1 through 4, two through four for CMC.
mhm.
The first one was to Miami for Trey Lance. They're kind of left with they still have 11 picks, but it's kind of one of those questions where like, what do you address if you're the 49ers, right? Because they have 3 third round picks, and
Back
those
to
are
back too.
back, yeah, 99, 100, 101. Those are their Rooney picks for the Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel, and I believe one other exec, but I can't remember. But
Hmm.
other than that, I don't know how they're doing in the cap area, but I imagine,
3 million. They have about like in their effective cap. It says that's 3 million. So they're not in the red. So it says they have like 13 million, but it's actually three.
and then
So
they'll have maybe like Jimmy Garoppolo's contract come off and that kind of thing too. So
well, he's a
those
free
space.
agent, so I don't think that's included in it right now, unless
Oh, so
they
that
don't have money to sign him back. Basically, is my point. He's gonna leave.
yeah. Okay, so then yeah, the question is 49ers, you're an organization that is still have that has a Super Bowl caliber defense. Like, how do you retool and shoot again, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just hopefully get some. I feel like that with they have what, three threes, three fifth round picks, one sixth, and three seventh round picks. I feel like it's gonna be like some trading up. But besides that, they might trade up once or twice. Maybe I'm thinking the highest they'll go is somewhere like at the like low or like high mid second round at best, but that's all they can if they see a player that they need. But they still got enough picks to like at least put some players on the team. But it's I don't know if they'll have that same success next year, especially when they're switching quarterbacks yet again.
Yeah, because I think so. First thing they'll have to do is probably sort out their free agent situation, who they're going to cut, and then come draft, they need to figure that out before draft time.
Yep.
Once they get that figured out, then they can actually draft accordingly. But the the annoying thing that's probably going to be there for 49ers fans is when season rolls around, Trey Lance is probably going to be your starter again because he'll probably be the most healthy because he's had the most time to recover. It'd almost be like a full calendar year for him.
Yeah, and I think
Uh,
it will actually. Oh, yeah, and Josh Johnson is also because they just pulled him out of nowhere. And Trey Lance isn't here yet, but I feel like it's his quarterback, or excuse me, it's his contract year next year for sure. So
yeah, I can see that too. And so he'll probably be the first option. Some vet will probably be in there in the mix as well, and Brock Purdy will come back because he's supposed to be sidelined 6 months, like you said, through the entire offseason. But
mhm.
obviously, he kind of grew on 49ers fans a lot because of his Mr. Irrelevant, storyline, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so I know they're going to keep him around. It's just that will he be able to will he be able to throw the ball the same, right?
Yeah,
So
because it's in his throwing elbow, like you said.
yeah. Oh yeah, fun fact, real quick. Did you know that for quarterback money, the top three players? Who do you think the top three in quarterback money is right now?
In terms of like salary across the league,
Yeah, salaries across the league. So top contracts for quarterbacks. Who do you think the top three are? You can guess. It's okay.
uh, Russ.
At number one, and who's your other two?
Oh, and I
And
was just gonna name off three.
oh, okay, name three. Without, I guess if you don't have any particular order, that's fine too.
Russ, probably Matt. Well, Patrick Mahomes, Russ, Tom Brady. No, it's Tom Brady or Matt Stafford. I'll say Stafford. I think Tom Brady has a smaller deal.
So your three is Russell, Tom Brady, and who?
Matt Stafford, Aaron
Okay, you
Rodgers.
got.
I forgot about Aaron Rodgers. Fuck.
Oh, what's your final three?
Take out Stafford, throw in Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, you actually got two of them correct. It is in the actual order. Aaron Rodgers at 50.2. I don't know what the Green Bay Packers are about to do with that. I'm hearing a lot of trade talk. Russell Wilson at two, or Aaron Rodgers at one. Russell Wilson at two with 49 million, and then Kyler Murray at three with 46.1 million.
Oh shit, I forgot about Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and he's $100,000 more than Deshaun Watson. And then you
S-
have Patrick Mahomes at 45. Because
yeah,
you got to remember, like that
that ten,
APY kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
changes over time, and plus, Patrick Mahomes' actual deal is actually less than I believe Deshaun Watson's, because Deshaun Watson's is like 230. That's actually, or 220. That's actually fully guaranteed, I
yeah.
believe. And I
It's a
think
lot of
Kyler
money for.
Murray, yeah, Kyler
Hopefully,
Murray too.
Deshaun Watson is probably a storyline that we should look at, come next season because he had his half the season this year to kind of
They
shake
were
off the
forgettable.
cobwebs.
Browns were forgettable when he
Yeah,
started, man.
yeah,
And he was like, he came into a game like, oh, I threw 100 yards, zero touchdowns, two picks, and all this stuff. And I'm just
you
sitting
wouldn't
here
be
like,
able to
ugh.
tell if it was Baker Mayfield, Jacoby Brissett, or Deshaun Watson out there, right? It just seemed like
Right.
everybody was fucking up over there.
Basically. So I mean that's kind of like it. That's like with all the games. Unless you had something else with the Eagles game, because that was just like it was just they took over that game, man.
Yeah, not much for me. We can give our picks for the Super Bowl, but I think what we're going to do is next week we'll give a little bit of a deeper dive. We'll look at we'll probably look at each phase of the each team and see what they got to do on to help their respective teams win. But right now, I think as things stand, both you and I are probably in agreement on this one, right? Who do we
I
want to
feel like
win?
the fans out there, after they've been listening to us or watching us on YouTube, go check us out. That we both love the Eagles. We want the Eagles to get it. So I mean, it's out. The cat's out of the bag. You got us. We
Yeah,
want the Eagles.
our stinginess or our bias, I should say, is a little bit evident now. But yeah, fly Eagles.
Fly Eagles. But yeah, that's all I had like for the Super Bowl. So we'll go in deep dive next week on the Super Bowl. And yeah, I guess we kind of move into the good old last part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, what do you got for us? Any last thoughts before we sign off?
we are on. This will be this one we're recording right now is episode 20 of the podcast,
Dude, I just
and
looked at Zencaster. We had 250 listens. Ain't
oh
that
my,
wild?
really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I need to check. I need to go over and check Spotify stats too, because that's I love looking at metrics and stats because now as a I'm an engineer out there. I love me some metrics. So it's really cool to see that for one, like we got 20 episodes out. I still remember the beginning of the season. We were
Yeah.
just like so excited for the Seahawks, and uh, yeah, we just had to get out there and do our thing. And we're almost done with the season. We can actually almost call it at least a full NFL season.
Yeah.
not including like the off season and stuff like that. But man, it's been a nice ride. And then trying to keep an episode coming out every week on top of what we're doing over here. It's been
Yeah,
humbling, I would say.
we work two very full-time jobs. So
Yeah, and I want to do more for the YouTube channel, stuff like that. Get some more shorts out, get some more reels out and stuff. And it's actually more of a skill than you would think. It's not just, throw something random up there and just let it go. But I've been kind of messing around with that myself. But it's really good to kind of like get the creative juices flowing and stuff like that. So I'm proud of us. I'm saying, for proud of you, my man. Thank you for all the support and stuff like that. Really do thank you. Because like, if you all don't know, this man over here, he been like Kanal, he's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I mean, look at that. Like, I don't, you can't really tell, but this man changed the whole mic just for you all right
yeah.
there. You can
Oh
now
man.
see it, but you didn't see what his mic was before. But man, he upgraded over there and stuff and like that. And we still got some part of the season to go, and the off season, and of course the draft. That's when
Yeah.
I'll really say let's put the let's wrap the bow on this podcast for at least for this one season is when the draft comes out. So
Yeah.
again, just proud of us what we've done so far, and yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, likewise to you, buddy. It's been fun to see how we've kind of tweaked things week in and week out and gotten to where we are right now. And I just get excited thinking about where we're going to be because eventually we're going to, like you say, we're going to get a little bit better with every little thing, like the shorts, the reels, how we
Mm,
publish our content, how we present our content. And yeah, it's just been a fun ride overall. So thank you for that. Thank you for being part of this journey with me.
of course, I'm just glad that we finally actually we actually set up to like let's do a podcast.
Yeah, we just did it. We just said fuck it.
Basically, it was just like, oh fuck it, we're just gonna go out here and like what, screw it, we're gonna do it, we're gonna figure it out how, and we figured it out, and we get an episode out on a week to week basis. And honestly, like now that I'm doing this podcast, I actually have like some groundwork laid out for my other upcoming podcast. But I'll announce all of that when that all comes to fruition. But there is another podcast personally from me coming out, not sports related though, but we're getting there.
Oh, for sure. Can't wait. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be ranting about like my gunpla models and stuff like that, which I don't think I've showed everyone. But yeah, I think I mentioned this If you've been listening week in week out, I haven't really shown my Gundam buddy. So there you go, everyone. He yeah, I guess he stays on top of like my PC over here, over like just watching over everything, and pew pew with the beam gun. But
Pew 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 with the blam blams.
pew pew with the blam blams. But yeah, what you got for us, Kanal?
Nothing besides that, and again, going back to 49ers fans, hey, I want to empathize with you, but I can't wait. But I can't because we're Seahawks fans. So have fun with your off season. We'll just be here criticizing everything along the way.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much. Other than that, that's pretty much it for us here at the podcast. Thank you for coming and actually watching on the YouTube channel at Mr. Reps Podcast, or our YouTube handles at Mr. Reps. All of our handles are at Mr. Reps on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. So come say hi, come leave a comment or something like that under our YouTube videos. Maybe some questions. Again, we'll take some questions from the viewers and stuff like that too. And whatever platform you're listening to us on with the podcast, please rate us at 5 stars, 5 out of 5, all the things. Like, I mean, that just helps us out. And you want us to be better, right? Like we need these ratings. So keep on with the support, and thank you for listening to us. I've actually seen some of that, seen some of those metrics, and I have some listeners coming back, and I appreciate that. So again, thank you all. Peace.